All right then, ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you guys to put your hands together in the best way you ever have for Mars? You brought me a coffee. You want us to switch? All right, I think this is my good side. How you feeling?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good. Firstly, thank you for taking the time to be here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Really, really do appreciate it. So let's just jump straight into it, right? Mars, where does the name, firstly, Mars come from?
So the name was not anything like that I put too much thought into. In fact, like when we were younger, I was, I went out with a friend of mine and we painted this abandoned house, right? And I didn't know anything about graffiti. I was in my early teens. I just know that at the time we were drawing like these alien characters that were quite popular. Okay. So I did the alien face and I thought like, yeah, that's cool, but it's not graffiti because it doesn't have a word next to it. Mm-hmm. And then I was like speaking to my friend, like, what should I write next to it to make it more graffiti and more edgy? And, at the time we were super creative. So we thought, okay, aliens come from Mars and I'm just going to write like Mars on the wall next to the alien. Yeah. So that's kind of the origin story. It's nothing too crazy. Yeah. And it's just kind of stuck with me now for the last, 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, man.
Jeez, that is a while to be putting in the work. And I want us to go back to like where it started, right? From my understanding, you actually studied graphic design.
Yeah, right? So I studied multimedia design. That was, obviously in my early 20s. During my teen years, after my Mars encounter, I started getting into graffiti and actually like meeting people through skateboarding on the streets. And I wanted to find out more about it. This kind of came first. So I was always like into graffiti and into like drawing and stuff like that. And I wanted to find out like what, I didn't know anything about design either. I was a teenager. No, nothing. I mean, you tell a teenager, like, do you want to be a graphic designer? Most people don't even know what that is. So, yeah. They told me, okay, you can study design or film or art school or something like that. So I thought, okay, let me take my chances. I'm going to study multimedia design because that's kind of like creative. Yeah. So yeah, after high school, I went and studied design for 3 years. And then after that, I worked like kind of in the design industry.
And would you say that the qualification element is it important when it comes to actually building a career in the design space?
So yes, it is. I think it is. A lot of the guys, they follow a similar path. They drawing as kids, as youngsters. We've always liked art in school and stuff like that and being creative. And from there, you take it and you enroll and do a formal education where you learn a lot of stuff that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. Like, yes, you can nowadays. It's not necessarily as important, and there's a lot of artists who have done it without that. But then you need to put in the time to learn by yourself, right? And it is much more accessible now than it was when I was in school. So now there's, YouTubes of people doing graffiti and murals, and they'll show you step by step how they do it, and they'll tell you. But formal education does help you with a lot of the principles, the foundation of drawing, the foundations of painting, color theory, all the technical stuff you'll learn there. And I must be honest with you, I wasn't the best student, and I look back now.
Why do you say that?
I was just more interested in painting graffiti, right? I just kind of studied that, like I said, because I thought that was like kind of the closest thing to graffiti. But looking back now, when I get projects, I'm like, damn, man, I should have paid more attention because I actually learned about this 20 years ago in school. Yeah, like for real. Like sometimes things like that will pop up and I'll relearn it because I'll look on YouTube or whatever. And I'm like, I actually learned this, but it'll bring back the memory, but I didn't pay as much attention as I could have. But I mean, I was a young man. So.
That's interesting. So you would say definitely that the qualification, it helps. It's not the end all and be all, but it definitely contributes.
Yeah, for sure. It does help, but you can do it yourself. And a lot of guys have, there's people who've done amazing things without degrees and without qualifications.
Yeah.
And then there's also people who've done really good things with degrees and qualifications.
Sure,
So
for sure. And do you know, like, when starting out, do you have like an idea of your most memorable, like, art piece that you've done that was like, whether it was your first one or your biggest one? Do you have any memory of that?
So in the beginning, I think a lot of it was just figuring stuff out and getting into graffiti and seeing like how things work. So in terms of memorable stuff, I think like when, I was quite critical of myself. So, and I still am, I don't know. I look at something and maybe I like it for like a day or two. And then after that, I'm like, no, it's not that cool. But in the beginning, I guess some of the most memorable ones were like, even though they were really bad, it was just like when maybe the first time I got to do a commission, like that was super, super cool, because all of a sudden it was something that I loved doing and I got money for it,
Oh man,
and that was like, oh wow, like maybe there is like a future in doing this.
And I mean, I can imagine that within the graffiti space, in the art space, whether we like it or not, it's a very expensive space, right? Learning the art is very expensive. Even getting the tools sometimes can be very expensive. Was that something that was a challenge for you to get access to, be able to do those things? Or it was kind of like you had the right friends, maybe, that also putting money together and going tagging together?
Yeah, look, I mean, resources is in the beginning when you're an artist. I mean, I guess you are broke. I mean, it's not easy in the beginning, right? I was fortunate that my family did put me through an education, right? So I was very lucky in that, because I know not everyone gets that opportunity. In terms of a graffiti career, I don't think my parents were like too keen on that. They were like, let him get a degree in something, just in case, and they didn't know like that. I didn't even know that one day this was something I was going to be doing. But yeah, I think in the beginning you have to hustle, man. And if you can, like, you need to lean on people around you.
And even, I mean, the conversation of I think when you're in the arts, one of the hardest conversations to have is with your parents, that this is what I'm going to be doing, right? Whether you are a musician, whether you are in the graffiti space. How was that for you? Was it like you were able to go to them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and they were supportive? Or was it like, I'm not really going to tell them until I've kind of like figured it out?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, for me anyway, they weren't like super supportive, just because it was so new. I don't know now how parents are for the youngsters, but for me to be doing stuff with a spray can on a wall, they were like, no, dude, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, go out there and get a real job and do this and do that. And so that is, again, why they pushed me to like study something. Like, even though they didn't, I'm sure all parents want their kids to be lawyers and doctors and all of that, but they were just like, what, just get like any degree so you can get a job. They were at that point.
And did you spend time like actually doing, like, did you get a job or?
Yeah, so after that, I worked as a designer for a couple of years. I worked in different industries, like in like fashion, and also like in a factory designing inflatables, and freelance graphic design work for like a company that did radio stuff. But yeah, little jobs here and there for like a couple of years. And then I guess one day, some of you guys here might remember the Sprite competition. So they used to run a competition with Sprite, right? It was like for 2 or 3 years. And they had like the best graffiti artist, the best dancer, and the best rapper. So on this is my final year of work officially. Sprite approached me and they said, okay, we're going to give you X amount to be like the judge this year. You have to do a little bit of work every month. And that amount was like as much as my paycheck for the whole year. To be fair, it wasn't a lot, right? Like, I was a junior designer. The paycheck was not anything special. But I was in my early 20s and I was like, screw this, I'm out of here. Like, I quit my job and I was like, I'm going to take my chances and become like a full-time artist, because now I'm going to make anyway what I'm going to make in the year. And I'll just have more time to actually focus on this.
Jeez, man. And that risk could not have been easy, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I didn't think about it. I mean, it could have been in retrospect, it could have been a huge mistake. But I think if you are younger, you can do things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do that now. You know, I have responsibilities, so I'm not just gonna up and quit my job. But during that time, for me, it made sense. You know, it was just a gamble, and I thought, you know, I don't want to be sitting designing all the time behind a computer. I want to be out there. I want to be painting walls. I want to be experiencing different things every day. And to be fair, I was also like a really horrible employee. Like you wouldn't want me working for you. Like I wasn't good at working for someone. I would just do the minimum and get by. So I think it made sense and it had to work, you know.
I do think when you are a creative, you find yourself being a horrible employee. Naturally, you just come in there and like trying to get the job done and then keep it moving. But would you say there are any like experiences or any soft skills that you maybe have that learned in that being in the workspace and doing the corporate that you kind of still like apply now that you are your own brand and own business?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think it's important just to always be open to learning something. You know what I mean? Like there's every day, even now I'm still learning stuff. So in my teenage years, I learned stuff. In my varsity college years, I learned stuff. During my day job, 9 to 5 years, I learned stuff. You know, there's always something you can take with you, you know, and even like I said, I mean, I'll be painting something and I'll Google how to do something and I'm still learning now. And I think that is what helps you to progress and move forward in this.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially with the business side, right? When it comes to being an artist, the creating part, I think most of us do not have a problem with creating, right? We may have blockages from here and there, right? But it's more the business element that we kind of like struggle with. So the transition for you to say you got your first gig and now you are a fully fledged brand on yourself, right? Do you remember what your best, and what was your best campaign or the best brand, so to say, that you kind of like you felt like, oh, this was a really dope thing that I've put together?
Yeah, look, it's hard to say a best one. I don't want to bring up any names of brands and campaigns. Just, but yeah, there is some memorable ones. You know, like the first time someone asked me to paint something really big, and I got on a cherry picker. Like the other graffiti people and muralists and stuff, they'll know. Like that's a really cool thing. You're getting on this machine, and you're like high up, 3 levels up, painting something. So that was really cool. Like I got to do that a few times. I've had the opportunity to do that a few times. That's been memorable. Doing stuff like this, I mean, this is cool. I don't do this often, man. And it's nice, you know. It gets the blood flowing. It's something new.
For sure.
So I don't like to say I got like one campaign that I like, because I like different campaigns for different reasons. Even some of the worst ones I've done where I've really just kind of like, it's been an uphill battle for the whole thing. When I look back at it like 2 months later or a year later, I'm like, oh shit, actually that was like pretty cool. And I made it through that, and I was going through a hard time, maybe even personally. Like, so each campaign is different for different things, not just for the creative artwork, you know?
Yeah. One thing I've definitely learned from my side is that I never know if I should be, as an artist or as a creative, right? Whether you're a podcaster, musician, do I go to the brands, right? Or do I put in the work and kind of like wait for the brands to come to me? Do you have any advice, or for you personally, how did it go for you? Was it brands coming to you or campaigns coming to you, or you pitching, sending emails, finding LinkedIn's, or?
Ah, man. So yeah, you know, I was discussing this with someone just now, and I think probably, you know, when I first registered myself as a business, right? It was hard, man. There was not a lot of campaigns. There was not a lot of things going on in this space. So I made a lot of noise, right? So I do, and I still do. I make a lot of like paintings that I do for myself, right? Like what we considered free work, but it's still work. Yeah. You're practicing, you're putting stuff out there, and you're creating things that might not pay right now, but will eventually, because someone will see that and be like, okay, cool, I want something similar for X, Y, and Z, for an event, a brand, whatever the case, right? So I haven't approached brand, like, I don't know if that works. If you can just call up the marketing manager of ABSA and be like, hey, I have a good idea. You know what I mean? I don't know if that'll work. I mean, it might work for some. I haven't done it, you know, but I've made noise where people have seen, right?
Okay.
And I think probably the trick is to be like, hey, look, I'm over here. I've got something and I've got billable skills and you can hire me if you want this too, right?
That's dope. That's dope. And you know, I feel like now with the way that content is moving, also with the world is moving, the way that AI is moving, everything is happening so quick, right? There's actually a quote that I saw that said, visibility is now better than ability. It's better to have visibility than have ability. Would you agree that, and I'm throwing a spanner in the works here, would you agree that it's more about, especially from an artist, is it better to be visible as much as possible? Or is it like, actually, no, it's like focus on the quality of what you're actually doing?
Man, I don't know. You know, the stuff, to put it this way, there's people, I think, that on social media are huge, right? But I still think, and I hate to say it like this, but I still think they're broke. Like, they might have like 500,000 followers, but I'm not sure, because they're creating content, not necessarily something that someone will pay for. You know what I mean? Content is interesting. Like, people look at it and they're like, oh, that's cool, for like 3 seconds of their lives, right? But how many people are being paid for their content? Like, I'm not an influencer. I don't see myself as that. I, in fact, try not to spend too much time on Instagram. I'll do my one post a week. I'll do a story or two. I've made an effort this year to try to do some more, but also, like, there's other stuff going on and it's not my priority. My priority always was to be good, right? I wanted to get good at something. I wanted to explore graffiti. I wanted to learn. And I think that's where you'll be able to, like I said, once you have those skills and people see, okay, this is actually worth paying for because it is something. Whereas a lot of content I look at, you know, you wouldn't necessarily pay for it. It's entertaining, but like...
But it's not something that's actually like has any longevity, you would say.
Exactly. So I think it's like, because of the digital age and all of that, it's there is a lot of that, you know. Where I think you'll be good is if you've got both, right?
Got you.
So if you've got really good content and you're really good, and there's some artists out there that are amazing. I mean, they got hundreds of thousands of followers and they paint like amazing pictures, whether it's realism, whether it's design, whether it's graffiti, whether it's tattoos. They're just so good at it that even though they've got that huge following, I think people are also paying for their work on top of it.
Yeah. I think also, I mean, most of us don't know how to approach brands. Most of us don't know how to approach the corporates. I know a lot of people that walk into the space that are musicians, that are content creators, that are graffiti artists. One of the questions that we get the most is, how do I price myself? Right? Because when you, it sounds so easy to do, to say, just put a price on it, but one part of you doesn't not want to let the client run away. Another part of you is like, but you have all this built up, whether it's debt, whether it's things that you need to get. For you, did you find the pricing element easy, or is it kind of like the person who wants you to do the work gives you the price and you take the price?
Yeah, okay, so it's a bit of both, right? I think there'll be times when you'll be able to ask for what you think you're worth. There'll be times when the client will say, I have X amount, and you must decide then if you want to do it or you don't want to do it. And I think this is like where majority of it is some negotiation somewhere in between, right? So you can, as an artist, right? I don't know how rappers charge or fashion designers, but generally as designers, I think they charge per hour. As a graffiti artist or mural artist or street artist, you can charge per square meter or on time. So mine would be more on the time side of things, depending on detail, because I wouldn't want, you know, you can spend a week painting a 1 meter by 1 meter canvas, right? But then you can also spend one day painting a 12 meter by 2 meter wall, depending on the detail. So I'd normally charge by time and like by skills required, which means like, am I gonna sit there and paint my ass off because that's going to be more, or do you want something a bit more simplistic because that's going to be less? And this is where the negotiation comes in. And generally, and I'm going to tell you right now, for guys who want to be artists and who really want to make this work, and I can see there's a lot of talent here just looking at that wall. There's a lot of guys here who can make this happen. I think you're always going to go a little bit above and beyond, right? That's what you want to do. So you don't just want to just, like, I get it, sometimes the money's not going to be great, right? And it's going to be an uphill battle, but just go a little bit extra, you know? Maybe you want to be done in one day. That's fine. Just come a half a day the next day just to add in those extras. Because maybe you only build for like one day, but it's not 100%. You could make it a bit better. But you can also just be like, screw it, I'm going home now and I get my money.
Yeah.
Just do a little bit more, you know? Okay. You don't have to kill yourself, but it goes a long way.
Yeah, got you. And I think that's dope from the business side. I want to shift a little bit more into the more artistic side now. For you, how do you feel your style has evolved? If you look at it, your style when you started out and looking at your style now, how would you say it's evolved?
Oh man, so if you saw the graffiti I did as a teenager, I mean, you would, it's not even the same person, right? So basically, my aesthetic is the street, the graffiti aesthetic, right? It's always gonna have, just like a portrait has eyes, a mouth, a nose, ears, whatever. My graffiti aesthetic's always gonna have lettering, drips, arrows, all of that kind of thing, right? So in the beginning, I was heavily focused on doing like what is traditional wild style graffiti. I mean, maybe I should take it back a little. I suppose when I first started, like when I was doing those Mars alien things and met up with the other kids, the older kids who showed me what it's about, they told me about illegal graffiti, which is now like going out there and painting your name on stuff, right? So in the early years, I think most graffiti people who get into graffiti, that's what they start out. It's got nothing to do with being creative or anything. You're just going out there, you're doing tags, you're doing throw-ups, you're doing pieces, you're doing all these things for people to see. And there's a rush element to it, and there's a thrill element to it. And there's also a notoriety element to it. You start getting known, people start recognizing you and your work, which is enough. You know, that's enough to fuel you. You know, your ego gets like a little bit of gratification there, so you keep doing more. Eventually, you're going to get to a point, and not everyone, but I did, where I was like, do I want to carry on doing this? I mean, I didn't even consciously think about it. I just kind of started trying to make my letters better. I started painting in the daytime, taking my time, adding more colors, pushing the technical aspects. So my style went from illegal, quick graffiti on highways, on billboards, on trains, on that, everything like that, to more like, you know, refined work where I'd spend the whole day with my friends painting a wall. And over that, it's progressed into, it went from very complex. I wanted my stuff to be like super complicated, super technical, so it looks like I'm good and all of that, to whereas now, over the years, it's gone way more basic. I've stripped everything off. I mean, some graffitis, you'll look at them, you can't even read them because they got so many arrows and so many things going on. Like the general public is like, what's going on there? So I stripped all that away. I left my graffiti kind of like simplistic letters with a lot of like typeface and font influence. And then to keep it kind of graffiti, I added an arrow, underline, exclamation mark, a halo, just one of each element, right? I wanted to, like I got OCD, so I just put one of each thing in there. And that was enough, you know? And what helped me there is that the general public could then read it, right? Because I found like, you know, you do these crazy intricate things, but it was working against you, right? Because you're doing these beautiful things, no one knows what they're saying, no one knows what they are or who did it. But now you can't miss it, it just says Mars, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the graffiti lettering side of things, but then my style kind of started evolving away from that. And again, it goes back to wanting to learn more, wanting to experience more, and just being curious, right? So then I started getting into like illustration, like characters, character design. I started looking into that. I started looking into portraiture in the last couple of years, how to paint faces. And it started out like in a very graphic style and is now going to a more like natural kind of faded style. So it's always me trying to learn stuff, but like I said, the overall aesthetic will always be that graffiti look.
Yeah. You know, I've always been, probably a stupid question, but I've always been marveled at, like, when do you do what you do? Like, I could go to bed and there's nothing on the train, and then I wake up and then you've done an entire piece. Like it happens in the nighttime?
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of illegal graffiti will happen in the nighttime. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, that isn't, I can imagine the thrill, right? That like kind of, you probably have to do it like really, really quick, but also make sure that it's like really, really, really dope.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the like the illegal side of things, and I think this is where like you know, graffiti artists, this is where you choose. Do you want to carry on that path? And there's people who have done that, or like for me, I kind of split it, and then like I said, I went more the legal route, the business side of things. There's people who do both. There's people who do like so much illegal graffiti and stuff, and they also run businesses on the side. You know, mural businesses. You wouldn't even know. But yeah,
that's so
crazy.
wild.
Yeah, it is, and a lot of it is that rush, and it is that being out there at nighttime and just like, and making people wonder like, how did that happen?
Yeah, jeez. And do you ever reach a point where it's like, okay, I've been doing this. I have the style, I have the fun. People know me for this, but I kind of like want to do something different. Like I feel like now I'm attached to, the thing is not attached to me, I'm attached to it. And I want to do something different. Do you ever, from an evolving perspective, do you ever feel like that? And when you do, like, what do you do from there?
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, I just kind of do, if I have an idea, I'll do it, man. I don't know, I won't necessarily always publish my ideas. I mean, this is the thing about like the graffiti stuff is, like if you're a fine artist, that's cool because, or tattoo artist or whatever, you can do practice work in your studio and you can test things out, and then you can, you know, once you figure it out, you can put it on the canvas as a final artwork and hang it up in the gallery. As a graffiti artist, your evolution is always out there in the public, which is a bit like scary, right? And if you're going to paint walls, that's how it's going to be. So sometimes I would paint like under a bridge or somewhere where not necessarily anyone's going to see it, just to see if the idea is going to work. Oh. Yeah, so that kind of helps me with that kind of stuff. But yeah, whenever I try to do something new, I kind of like obviously try to do it, like I said again, in my style with the graffiti aesthetic. Like you'll see that Mars painted that because he's got like a couple of those like oval things that he puts on his pieces and a couple of drips and a couple of arrows. Like it's identifiable, you know what I mean? Even though it's a face and this one is a piece and this one is a whatever.
Yeah.
It'll just have a few things that I carry on throughout. So
you still keep your originality.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope. I think, do we want to do a couple of questions first before we jump back in? Because I can see there's quite a number of people that are kind of like itching to ask questions. Maybe 1 or 2 questions. You just make sure, lift up your hand if you have I think the guy over there. Just make your way over here. So if you have I think the guy at the back, was it you with your hand up with a question?
Sure.
Just make your way over here. Tamila, you have a question?
Yeah, I got a question.
Oh, snap. Sorry. Okay, cool. So you, my man, you'll follow after him, eh?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yo, man, I just want to check something, or know something. You've basically done a lot of murals across the city. Basically, one of the people whose fingerprints can be identified and be like, yo, that's like part of Joburg's like graffiti like community. Is there a piece that you've done where it still surprises you? Like if you're driving by, like let's say it's on a highway or a bridge or whatever, and you're like, damn, I can't believe that I did that. Like a particular piece that you've done, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man. So there was one, right? It was okay. So like I said, I don't want to bring up too much of like specific brands, but there was one like a thing I did for Converse where I had to paint, like it was the artist self-portrait series. So each year they got like for a couple of years different artists to paint themselves, and I painted like this 3 3 floors billboard type thing, and that was like by where was that? That was like it was actually up the road here by like near the new town under the bridge there, and it was literally a 3-story billboard of my face. So that was super weird to see that, and like they kept it up there for like 2 years, and I would drive on the highway, and like I'd be like with people, and they're like, look, there's your face, and like kind of ripping me about it, but it was cool. Like I kind of like that one, yeah.
Dope. We have another question.
Hi, Mas. How you doing?
Hey man, good. How you, man?
I'm 80. I'm a war medalist. I've been doing this for 10 years. Different types of stuff, graphic design, and so. But I recently got approached with the biggest job I've ever been handed. Double story, print all around the walls, war medal in the back and in the entrance of this dispensary in Bedfordview. I would like to know, the client recently went silent after I gave them a proposal. So what do you think it would be? Because it would be something I'd love to add to my portfolio.
Yeah, shot, man. Did you say they went silent after the proposal?
Yeah, after the proposal, quiet.
Damn, man. I mean, I don't know why, but it does happen, dude. And that's the thing with proposals, right? So I've done a few myself, and when I say a few, I got a folder on my computer of like proposals, pictures, where dudes have just ghosted me, man. It's just one of those things you can follow up a little bit. Like I'm quite persistent, so you can send like a few messages, emails. Even now, I've got people who I quoted like 2 weeks ago. I did a thing for, and this is unfortunately, I try not to do any work without a deposit. But sometimes you will get a job like that, where the job sounds like it's amazing, it's big, it's going to happen. You do the work, and then you just don't hear back from them, or they're like, oh, thanks. And you're like, well, that's not like the response I was expecting. But man, I'm sorry that you're going through that, but it's a numbers game, dude, because for every 10 of those you do, you'll get 1. Yeah, I know it sucks, but it happens even to me, bro, to anyone. Oh.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Moss.
Hi there.
My name is Kanyisile Mamujele, and I'm not here to ask any question. I'm basically here to put myself on. I hope I'm not going against any rules, right?
Do it, girl.
Oh, yes. I just recently started a business. It's been one of my dreams, and I said I wanted to start off with Capitec, but I think I'm going to change my decision now. Yes, because there was an influence. Is my lipstick red enough? Am I going?
Yeah, your lipstick is red enough.
That is dope. And another thing, Ziggy, are you a technical director? Oh yes. If you do need an assistant, I'm also here.
Yes.
I was a technical director for Big Brother, both seasons for Bazozo and the season this year. So this is just me putting myself on. I don't know who's listening. You don't know who's here. So I mean, like, thank you so much. Do follow
right.
Queen of Content, QOC_online Meg on Instagram, and support the businesses. Thank you.
All right. I think we're going to take one more question, then we're going to jump back into the conversation, and we'll do another Q&A later. Cool?
Good afternoon,
right.
guys.
Hey, how you, man?
Good. I wanted to know what would separate a person from being like just a good artist to being marketable and being able to be approached by brands and approach brands.
Cool. Yeah, I got that, man. That's a very good question, right? So I think what you need to see is like art is like generally people say it's like quite subjective, right? So what looks good to someone might not necessarily look good to someone else. But there is something that I like to refer to as like an industry standard, right? So you might be good, but are you at that level that the other guys are at, right? So it doesn't mean that you need to be copying them. It doesn't mean you need to be doing what they're doing. Just is what you're doing on a high enough level, right? Because when people look for artists or they look for someone to use in a brand, right? They're going to look for the people that are on that level, right? You know what I mean?
Like, what would that level look like?
Well, have a look, man. It's on social media, dude. It's literally on Instagram, on YouTube. Look at the top guys. Look at the most famous guys. And I know it's daunting, and you shouldn't compare yourself. They say that, and you know, you don't have to be on that level. You don't have to be like super 1 million followers good. You just, if you somewhere there, if you're very far, and you need to be honest with yourself. If you still need a lot more developmental work, then you need to put that work in, right? You need to go do that, and that's just grinding, dude. It's like literally working for free, getting good, right? Because there's no school that teaches you to do murals or to do graffiti. There's none of that. I mean, this is probably like even a first of its kind, what we're doing here, me explaining these things to you, because these are like secrets that people keep, right? But you need to basically educate yourself and train yourself to get to that level.
Thank you.
I hope that helps, man.
Dope, man. Thank you, bro. Actually, there's something he touched on and something you just touched on now, around, you know, surrounding yourself with the right people and with getting your work out there. I'm sure you've probably gotten a lot of criticism through the work that you've done. How do you handle the criticism from, because things are out there, right? And people are going to give feedback on
Haters.
how they feel. How do you handle that?
Yeah, so you need to have a little bit of a tough skin. I'm not saying you need to be like point blank in denial, right? Like I said, you have to be honest with yourself first, like, and just have a look.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been, as I said, critical, so I can see of myself, of other people. I love whatever people do. Like, it's cool. I like it. That works for you. I dig it. But for me, I've always been like, oh man, that could have been a little bit better, or I should have spent a bit more time. So in terms of like, yeah, the criticism, like I said earlier, the graffiti and the murals, that will always be in the public eye, man, because that's where you're painting. You're painting a wall here in the mall. And maybe some people are gonna be like, damn, that's not great. But generally you wanna try get to a point where you minimize those. So the not good to good kind of like, yeah. You want to start getting good compliments, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, you need to be tough-skinned, but also just like be honest as well. Like if you see you could have done like, if you painted like a figure and you see like something's a bit off, you know, probably other people are going to see that it's a bit off. So just fix it or whatever.
Got you. You know, one of the maybe because I'm an anxious person, but one of the things I've always thought about is, because you guys are painting something big, loud in front of, have you ever been working on something and you thought it would look a certain way, and as you're going, it is not like coming together the way that you thought it would? And is it like, do you walk away? Do you continue and kind of like figure it out as it goes? What's your process when something is not working out the way that you thought it would?
Man, it happens a lot. Yeah, it does. Your job as an artist is a lot of problem solving, like more than anything else, because when you're painting this thing, you drew it nicely on like your iPad or on a piece of paper at home, and now you're out there in the elements and you're out there and it's cold and windy and whatever, and you're tired and you're painting this wall, and it's a real physical thing. And then by the end of the day, you take a photo and you see on the phone, like maybe you're painting a face and the one eye is like skew. So now you're like, shit, like I have to really, like for me, I will go home and I will kind of draw over it and try and make it right. And then I'll come back the next day and fix it, right? So there's a lot of that. You're not perfect. I mean, we're not printers, right? So, and there's things I'm also learning. So if I'm painting something and then it looks weird, I'll have to just keep tweaking it till it comes right, you know, just kind of like fiddling with it until eventually it gets to a level that I'm like okay with, or I just give up. So, but I try not to give up often. Like
for sure. And I mean, would you say that because I feel like that requires a certain level of consistency, right? And do you have a way, or maybe a specific method that you use to try and stay motivated when it feels like you're not being as consistent as you want to be?
Yeah, look, I mean, that kind of, you have to be on that level, man, because other dudes are doing that. I've seen some really good artists overseas and locally. They mess something up, they come back the next day, they make it right. You know what I mean? Like I said, this goes back to the thing of like, you can just leave today. Maybe it's a bit skew, the eye, no one will notice. But if you want to be, again, this goes to that, like, if you want to be on that level, you have to see like other dudes are not leaving their things like that, you know? And that's what sets them apart from like us or whoever you're comparing yourself to. So in terms of the consistency, yeah, you have to, I don't even think about it. Because after 3 days of painting a wall, I don't want to go back. It's the last thing I want to do. Yeah, I'm tired, man. I want to go home and like watch TV or something. But I do. I go back. I get in my car in the morning and I drive to the spot and I change it. And sometimes the money's not even worth it, but I do it because that is what you have to do and that is what I do.
Jeez. Oh, man, that cannot be easy.
Yeah.
But nah, that's dope, man. That's dope. That's dope. I think one of the last things, before I dive into the next topic, one of the last things I wanted to ask is, you know, when you are creative a lot of the time and you have to do work for other people, right? Whether it's with a brand or whatever the case may be, you sort of like find yourself having to submit your creative direction from a collaboration perspective. Right. And I think like, because when you work with a business or you work with a brand, it's more of a collaboration, right? And sometimes people struggle to collaborate with a brand because they like, this is how I want this thing to look. Because at the end of the day, it's my thing, right? And the person paying for it is like, yeah, but it's not your thing, it's my thing because I'm paying for it, right? Can you think of any time or situation where you have a creative direction of this way, but the person that you're working with wants to go another way, and how you handled it?
Yeah, look, I mean, so becoming an artist full time, I think that that happens all the time as well. So there's, for myself personally, it's a fine line, right? So sometimes there's stuff, and I think for most people, unless you've got like a really commercial style that just works for all brands, which is also rare, most people have to compromise a little bit, right? Because I'm not getting paid to write Mars on someone's wall. That's like my thing. That's my branding. What you'll have to do is kind of meet in the middle, but probably again, you're going to have to give a little more than take. So, because at the end of the day, it is the client, right? And it is what they want. So some jobs are very open and they do want you to maybe not write Mars, but they want me to write other stuff in graffiti. That's cool. I do that with my eyes closed. I love doing letters in graffiti. Sometimes they'll want something that's a little bit away from my stuff, or maybe even further away from my stuff. And this is where you as an artist must decide, what do you want to do? So I would still do it because I still learn stuff and I mean, just carry on, you know, keep the ball rolling. But you don't have to, you know, you can say, okay, this is a little bit out there for me. Maybe I'll swing it on to my friend who's better suited at this. That's okay too, you know what I mean? And next time he gets a job, he'll swing it your way because you're better at something else that he is.
And that's like a thing in the graffiti space in terms of like referrals. Like, is it a community that works that way, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, more now than ever before, I would say so. Yeah, like dudes are willing to, I mean, yeah, definitely. Because now this is actually becoming like an emerging kind of ecosystem, you know, the mural, the wall painting, the artists. It's become a thing. So years back, you couldn't really give the work to anyone because there wasn't that much, right? And to be fair, there wasn't that many artists that could do it. Like, we've all kind of grown, you know, and it's like, when you get stuff, if you give it to someone, it'll come back as well to you, man. Like, you give a homie a job, maybe a year later, he'll be like, yo, dude, I'm too busy. Take this one, and you'll have nothing during that month, and that'll save you.
Oh, dope. And would you say now that, I mean, with all the work you've done, right, is collaboration something that you are still open to? I know you probably don't have as much time now as before, but if there's a project and someone wants to collaborate, right, is this something that you're still open to?
Look, as graffiti artists, we're quite like social. I mean, despite being antisocial, we do a lot of social stuff. Like, we get together and we paint walls for fun, like how people go play golf or whatever hobbies they do. So those are kind of collaborations. informal collaborations, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like formal collaborations with artists, I haven't done many. Overall, I haven't done many, but I'm not close to it either, you know. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. So in case someone wants to
yeah. Look, I mean,
shoot their shot like the lady over there, there's a possibility. Okay, no, that's dope. That's dope. I think the last theme from my side is I wanna speak about kind of like what your thoughts are on where the graffiti culture is at the moment, right? What are your thoughts on where it is at the moment?
I think it's good, man. There's people painting walls. There's people making a living doing it as well. There's youngsters coming up. There's guys branching off into all kinds of avenues, like graffiti artists doing tattooing, graffiti artists doing design, illustration.
Yeah.
So I think it all falls under that same umbrella, doing murals as well. And, you know, sometimes you look at it and you'll be like, oh man, not much is happening. But actually, when you look at it like long term, a lot has happened. You know what I mean? Like just in the last like 15 years, we've gotten like international brands of spray paint, which has made a huge difference in this country.
Sure.
We've gotten all kinds of like even to do this was unheard of. You know what I mean? To speak about graffiti to people was just like weird. You know what I mean? So, and this is happening not just here, but all over the world, right?
Yeah.
So as a global movement, I think it's definitely like on the up and up. And I think it'll be there. It's a tool, murals, street art, graffiti art, all of that are tools that people are using.
Dope, dope. And is there any passion projects that you are working on, anything that you're looking to do over the next, maybe let's say 5 to 10 years?
Oh, wow. That's like look, I don't know about 5 years. I'm just trying to, like, I'd love to just paint more of like my traditional upbringing of graffiti pieces, just like whenever I get time, I like to do that. Sometimes just go somewhere and do like a Mars piece just for myself. I still enjoy doing that, like after 20 years, I know. But yeah, still, so those are like my passion projects, you know, when I get to do that, hang out with some of the homies and stuff. That's,
and I'm sure that's still important, man, because you still do the work that you are like kind of like tasked to do, but then you're still filling that purpose in you by still doing your own thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like what I grew up with. That's what I'll be creating stuff nonstop, you know, that's what I'm here to do. So yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump into a Q&A because I know more questions are here. But before that, right, we're just going to give Mars a bit of a break, get something to drink besides the coffee. And we're going to have Paul join us from ABSA. So can you guys please give Mars a round of applause? Thank you, bro. How was that? Very informative, right? All right. But trust me, guys, you guys are definitely going to get a chance to ask your questions, right? Mark just needs to take a bit of a 5-10 minute breather and then we'll jump back into the Q&A. But luckily, I'm not being left by myself. I have Paul with me, and Paul's from ABSA, but for those who don't know, Paul, can you let the audience know who you are and what you do at ABSA?
Thanks, Lim, and afternoon. Good to see you all here. I'm feeling a bit old here, I must be honest. Eh?
Not that bad.
So I'm definitely not a banker. So let's go there. I'm ABSA's art curator. So everything art, creative related, I manage ABSA's art portfolio literally across the continent. So I do have the opportunity to meet with many artists, creatives, both in South Africa and across the 12 countries where ABSA has a presence in Africa.
Jeez. And how long have you been doing that?
I had hair at one stage.
All right. So
23 years.
Jeez. Oh, that is incredible. That is incredible. So I just want to ask a couple of questions, right? And my first one is, you know, when it comes to the creative space, right, there is quite a gap between the passion and the profit, those who make money and don't make money. Why do you think there is a gap like that? Why do you think there's a struggle?
I think the first point is, and let me ask a question.
Mhm.
How many of you are artists out here? Raise a hand. Okay, there we go as well. We've had a chat. And my question to each of you as artists, I'm a curator. Yes, I sit within a corporate. How do I know that each of you actually exist? What are you doing to make yourselves to someone like aware to someone like me? That's the question I'm throwing out. And if I do not know that you exist, that is where you're falling short in terms of how you manage it. And as an artist, so often you're very inwardly focused. You're focused on your building, creating the artwork, finishing that work. But you're not as much focused in building your brand and getting yourself out there. And as much as you spend in terms of creating that perfect work, you need to spend as much time and effort in focusing outward, looking outward. And that's often in terms of my discussion with many artists. They do absolutely phenomenal work. And we've got some of the best artists on this continent, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But we're not telling our story and getting it out there.
Oh, that is very, very true. I think, can we take a question? Someone has a question.
Hi.
Let me pass you the mic.
So, yeah, I mean, it's something I've been thinking about for a while. I did fine arts in 04 at Wits, and I realized after 4 years of a fine art degree that they just teach you all these things and they just kind of push you out there into the world. What would it take to kind of get a little business course into these fine art degrees to teach artists how to make money off their art once they leave their degrees or their stuff like that?
Look, you're very fortunate where you are now because you have a lot of access to information. Not all of it is good, I'm going to say. There's a lot you have to sift through. But I think one of the important things, and Mars also spoke about it, it's about partnerships, it's about collaborations. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you partnering with? So I think that's the first part. The second is opportunity presents itself. To each of you, and some of you, you might come up to me afterwards, and I hope you do, and say, by the way, I'm so-and-so, I'm Slim, this is what I do. My first question to you I'm going to ask you is, show me your work. Now, all of you, or 80% of you, I'm willing to bet, are going to whip out your phones.
And go on Instagram.
And go into your social media or something like that. I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm gray. I'm part of what I would want to have from you. You have a profile on your phone. You share that, you immediately say, can I WhatsApp this to you? So when I'm lying in bed at night or whatever, I can go back and go, oh yes, I met so-and-so today. Let me look at his work or her work. So that's the first thing, is getting it out there. Read around your subject. Each of you as an artist, you are a brand. How do you manage yourself as a brand out there? How do you surround yourself with people that have your best interests in heart, have got skills that you do not have? I've got a team that works with me at ABSA. But each member of the team does not have the same skill set that I do. There's no point in that. I want to be challenged in the decisions I make by the team. But together, we make a unified, and think of a soccer team. You've got a goalie, you've got a back, you've got centers, you've got forwards. And if they work together, they succeed. And it must be the same with yourself. And I agree with you. At university, you're taught very well in terms of your craft. But now you also need to focus outward once you leave. You've been kicked out of the nest, like any young bird should be. You now need to learn to fly. And you start that journey gradually.
And can I ask, at what point should a creative make that shift, right? Where it's like, it's not just about what I'm doing, but what about we doing? What about building something that is of a legacy? At what point should they make that shift in terms of mentality?
I think immediately. All of you are doing your hustles on a daily basis. But as you're hustling, you're creating a foundation. How do you now build on that foundation every day? And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be like the kid that touches that hot stove and burns your fingers. And if you don't, then there's a problem because you're going to make those mistakes. And it's not about the mistakes you make. It's don't make them the second time. Pick yourself up, learn from it, and move on. And that's the important thing. And it's a journey. It's not about for me, and I'll be criticized, Slim, it's not about the destination.
For sure.
It's about the journey that you go on to get to where you ultimately want to be.
Yeah. And I think and I love that, one of the hardest things when you are on that journey, right? Because there's a lot of noise, right? And you are ever changing as the journey goes. How important is it that you stay authentic to yourself, especially as an artist? Because you can say that this is who I am, this is what I'm trying to do, but then the climate isn't receiving what you bring in, but you still want to remain authentic. How important is it to stay authentic?
So important. I think you need to remain yourself. Your identifier, your DNA of who you are needs to keep coming through your artwork. So often I might see an artist and I see one work and I go, okay, then I look at another work by the artist and then I look at something there and I go, but is this actually the same artist?
Yeah.
I want to be, your identifier must come through, but never forget where you've come from. Never forget the people that have helped you, because one day you can pay that on to someone else. But at the same time, use the platforms that present themselves to you and make the most of those as well.
I love that. I love that. And I'm sure you see a lot of artists, you work with a lot of artists, you get a lot of artists that pitch to you. What would you say is the biggest mistake that a lot of artists make right now?
Not believing in themselves. Your gut is never wrong. Believe in yourself. If you think that work is not good enough, then it's not good enough. Then burn it and start again. And I can tell you the likes of Penn Ethiopia's, Diane Victor, and I can Marco Schiavinelli, and I can Mary Sabanda. They would tell you the same thing. Believe, but believe in your own ability. Tell your story, and remain authentic to yourself. Be true. And don't be scared. Just because I might look like an old person dressed in a suit, just missing the tie, doesn't mean you can't come up to me afterwards and say, by the way, I'm so-and-so. You need to know who I am. You need to know me. I'm this young artist that you're going to see one day in 20 years' time, and I want to tell you my story today. Make yourself visible.
You're so wise, man. I could chill with you all day. Like I could go get some coffee with you. You know what I mean? Like he's got so much knowledge.
Only coffee.
Throw a little something in there. Can I ask, right? Because there's so many gems that you've given that can get someone so fired up. What would you say is like, what's the first step from here for a creator, for an artist who's a beginner, right? What is the first step to say, from here, I'm motivated, I'm ready to go. What is the first step to launch yourself?
One of the things that we've been doing as ABSA, we've supported the ABSA L'Atelier. It's an art competition. You can go Google it, L'Atelier. It's studio in French, studio in French.
How do you say it?
L'Atelier.
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 All right.
ABSA L'Atelier. If you just go Google ABSA art competition, it will lead you there.
Yeah.
We've been running it for 40 years.
Jeez.
We supported it across the continent. Many unknown artists. You have to be 21 until 40.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that age group, you may enter. Whether you're professionally trained, self-taught, photographer, sculpture, painter, printmaker, you may enter that competition. Make the use of opportunities because, yes, like any competition, there can only be one winner. But by entering such things, you're putting your hand up and you're saying, I'm Paul, I exist, I'm here. And we track the people that enter. We might have commissions coming on, we might have clients wanting work. And we go back, oh yes, I remember that work from that young man. He didn't win it, but you suddenly get a notice and we might come back to you where we will reach out. So it's one way of actually showing up. We're doing a call now, I can tell you, we're renovating we've just built a new head office in Ghana.
All right.
5 stories, lots, fantastic building, state of the art. And like every building's got all these empty walls.
Yeah.
And we're currently doing a call to every artist in Ghana that has entered the L'Atelier. Submit work to us. That's how you get noticed. Yes, it's a competition, there can only be one winner. But by putting your hand up, you're saying, I exist. And that's what we want from you as ABSA. We want you to enter such platforms. We want to hear your story, and we want to help you in building your brand on your journey to make your dreams become a reality.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Paul. All right, can we welcome Mars back onto the stage? I almost called you Paul, Mars. Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. All right, are we ready to get into the Q&A? I'm sure those questions are riled up. So let's remember, guys, hey, Q&A, you just have to make your way to X marks the spot over there, right? And then you can ask your question, introduce yourself so that Mars also knows who he's speaking to, and we will rock from there. So you guys are more than happy to make your way over there. Anybody who has a question? There you go, just make your way over there.
Hi everyone. Hi Mans. Glad to be here. My name is Trupoy Dlamini. So, sorry, my anxiety is just.
All right. All right, brother.
But yeah, my question is around graffiti and visual arts. So one thing I've noticed is that like you don't see a lot of graffiti or any in like fine arts, traditional art galleries. So I don't know why there's like a disconnect with like the visual arts. But yeah, they seem to be pushing away graffiti from the traditional arts. So my question is, what do you think about that, and what do you think that is? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's actually a really good question. Unfortunately, I don't actually have an answer for that. I think the graffiti in galleries has popped off a lot in the States and Europe. But so I'm not a gallery artist. I'm not familiar with that space. But I think in order to, you need to come sort of in the middle. You have to adapt your graffiti in a way, or do it in a way that it won't necessarily be what you do on the streets, but it will be a snippet of that for the gallery, right? That's what I've seen, that's what I've noticed, like guys who paint the streets, they'll like change it around a little bit, not too much, but it needs to fit because the gallery space is a different space to what you're doing out there, right? And I don't know why it's like that. I don't know here what the story is. It's really not my space, but I have seen overseas that they're doing it a lot. I mean, they do it at Art Basel in Miami. There's galleries with so many graffiti and street artists. They do it in Europe. So I don't know. I honestly, that's the only thing I can say about it.
All right, cool. All right, next question.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sibo Mokwena, multidisciplinary artist. I'll shoot straight to the question. When you don't find needle, I hope this isn't too technical, but when you don't find needle point caps, I've gone to Shelf Life from Cape Town to Rosebank to Grayscale. No one ever has. What do you do to get like the finest spray possible?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So needle caps, I don't think they don't bring them here. In South Africa, they don't have that nozzle yet. So we're still missing quite a couple of those nozzles and all those fancy things you see on Instagram and on YouTube and people doing it. But you can get really thin lines, right? I mean, it's still possible. Maybe not necessarily needle thin, but if you use like the normal green nozzle, here's a trick. If you turn the can upside down and let the pressure out, I don't know if you know about that one.
Yeah, I do.
So let it out till there's nothing in there, and that's probably when you're going to get like your best lines possible. I mean, yeah, we just don't get that nozzle here,
Okay,
unfortunately, unless you bring it in yourself.
Flip it upside down, spray.
Hold it for like 3 minutes.
Okay.
No paint's going to come out, only the gas.
And then?
And the gas is what propels it to go really fast. So
Uh-huh.
once the gas is out, the paint comes out slower
Okay.
and less.
Shout out.
Yeah,
How did you even
that's a
find
trick.
that? How did you know that? How did you get there?
So I didn't invent that. That's like a thing that's been passed down for like the last 50 years from. So there's a lot of stuff like that that gets passed down between graffiti people but I mean, like I said, guys, it's all on YouTube, man. Like you type in how to get thin lines with a can, you're gonna get tons of videos how to do it.
That's dope. That's dope. All right, my brother.
What's up, man? Is it good?
Yeah, good.
Sweet,
What's up?
sweet, man. So yeah, by the way, my name is Steve Cray. I'm an artist, muralist, rapper, and all stuff like that. I got what I needed from Nasty last time I was here. Now I want a muralist type-based question, you know. So judging from like, I'll say my own endeavors and journey and stuff like that I went through with murals, I'm pretty good at like sales, communication and stuff like that. So I'm good at getting clients locally. And outside, I say I got like 3 to 4. Now I do things like going door to door, also reaching them out online and stuff like that. But I want to know, how do I like get the big guys, like the companies and stuff like that, buy mural gigs and stuff?
Hey man, yeah, shit, that's a good question, dude. I think you're doing pretty well. If you're getting some clients and you're going door to door and it's working for you, I think that's like really cool, man. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily always work for people. In terms of the big guys, I think again you have to make noise, man. If you make enough noise, they'll come to you. And like the gentleman before me said, use all those opportunities, the competitions, just wherever there's an opportunity and you see like big brands, just go for it, man. I still do competitions. You know, I did a competition 2 years ago or a year ago even. So use those avenues, man.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, man.
Dope stuff. Dope stuff. What's going on?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mr. R, and I'm a creative among other things. So my question for you would be, as an artist, there comes times where we get too invested in the art that we're making, so much so that the idea we had in our mind doesn't translate to what's actually in front of us. So as an artist, when's the right time to stop?
Geez, I don't know, man. When you just get tired of it, I think like there'll be a point. It depends, right? So if you're doing a commercial work, you can't stop. You have to just make sure and keep going till it's like as best as you can make it. I guess that would be like when you reach your technical abilities, like this is as far as I can go technically with this one. Now I'm just kind of productive, like erasing and taking things away and adding things and overthinking it. I think then go on to the next one and try learn from the one that you just finished, basically. But yeah, man, it's difficult. It's personal for everyone. So I think that struggle is like for most people, to be fair.
Cool, man. Just make your way. Remember, guys, if you have a question, you just have to make your way. I think there's a bit of a line going on there. But if you have a question, you can just go over there. My man, what up?
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. I am an illustrator and a printmaker. So I've been very curious as to how does one go about immersing themselves in the world of graffiti when they have absolutely no idea how to start, where to begin, and all these other technicalities or intricacies that actually go into creating artwork on a wall. And my second question, or my last question rather, is when you collaborate with brands, do you retain the copyright, or is that being shared with the brand that you're creating work for?
Yeah, those are good questions. So to get into like the graffiti scene, it can be a bit tricky, man. But I think there is like graffiti jams going on. There is people doing things. There's graffiti stores. There's one in Rosebank. There's one in Bromfontein where you can buy the paint. And they often have like jams and shows and stuff like that. And I think it's just a natural thing. Like if you go there, you meet some guys, you hang out a little bit. I mean, that's how I did it. Or that's how it's always worked for me. It wasn't like something that I consciously thought of, but just, you know, the path will kind of form once you start going into those kind of spaces and speaking with the people, right? I'm sorry, there's no like clear-cut answer to that. But, and then in terms of the copyright, I think for the most part, like whenever I do commercial work, it belongs mostly to the client. It's, you know, what they want to do with it for the most part is, it's theirs. You know, I do it, but then it's yours, you know, you paid for it. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
Right. Madume, greetings, everyone.
Just stand on the X. There we go. Xbox the spot.
Thank you, Madume. Greetings, everyone. My name is Let's Solomon Mutloung. On Facebook, I'm Let's Productions. And the reason I'm mainly here today is to find possible collaborations with current graffiti artists, the community. I have an ongoing project called the Let's Art and Recycled Fashions, in which I work with a number of different schools from different demarcations, because I believe that when we come together in the name of art, we are one. So one of the main reasons, I heard earlier there was a talk about some graffiti artists are practicing illegally. And I wanted to find out, maybe is there steps towards becoming regulated or a legal graffiti artist? Maybe they don't know, and why would they do it? Because I am on an ongoing quest to finding or bridging the gaps between various art forms that can especially help learners to earn while they're learning. And I'm also looking at ways to find meaningful ways to introduce the young audience to graffiti work where it's not an illegal or an activity that is not recognized, but we're looking for ways to make our world colorful and creative through graffiti. And how can we safely introduce spaces like that, especially in the community where, you know, it's black and white, basically. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the question. I think there's a lot of people here for you, graffiti artists that are not doing illegally. So you can speak with them. Everyone here, guys, you're here to all for the same thing. If you guys are looking for people, look around you, man. These are your people, right? So I think any graffiti artist doing illegal graffiti, they probably not going to be here necessarily.
All right. I think the other question she had was it that from a legal way of doing it? Is that what you were asking? Is there any regulations that he's aware of that help the graffiti space, kind of like, so that people that are doing it illegally can do it legally?
So the people doing it illegally will always do it illegally because they love doing it like that. But there is spaces that the city has provided for legal graffiti, and when you do legal graffiti, it's just a matter of getting permission for a wall, right? And there is these walls around town, and it's also not that difficult, guys. If you go out there, I mean, it's literally the one guy that said he does door-to-door sales. You literally go to the person's house. I mean, chances are they might say no, but you say, bro, can I paint something nice on your wall? And it's worked for years that people are like, yeah, that's fine, you can do it. You know what I mean? And then there's your permission, there's your legal wall. This is not like in Cape Town, you have to go through bylaws and you have to get city permission and council permission. Joburg, like you said, it's in the gray. It's already in the gray. It's not just black and white. Like here you can maneuver. And this is why this sort of thing works here a lot better than it does in Cape Town, I feel.
All right. All right. Next question.
Okay, I'm Lorenzo. I'm from Pretoria. I just wanted to find out, man, it's more of a technical question. How do you get tapered lines without using cutbacks?
Hey, what's up? Yeah,
Just with distance.
So most of the time you can cut it back, but if you use like the outline nozzle, there's a green one from Grayscale, and there's like a beige one, I think, from Shelf Life. And you have to go really close to the wall towards the end of the line. Okay. So you go from far, but not too far, and then it makes a little point, right? Is that what you mean? Yeah. So that you just need to practice that, man. Okay. But honestly, if you just cut it back, that's fine too. Like I do a lot of cutting back. I do tapered lines wherever. It depends.
Okay, so it's just distance bend, basically.
Just and like closer to the wall, but like not just keeping it like tilting it so that the nozzle is closer to the wall, not just the can. Because the can only gets so far to the wall and then it can't go anymore. Okay. But the nozzle can still get closer.
No problem. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, I hope that helps.
All right.
All right. Damn, another one.
I have a more business structural question. So as a creative, when you
Sorry, my bro. Sorry to cut you now. Just on that red spot. Thank you.
Do you build your, like in terms of getting paid, do you get money straight as an artist, or do you have a business that the money goes through?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good question. There's a few ways you can do it. What I did is I registered a business, and I think most guys doing it professionally would do this. It's not difficult. It's not very expensive, and then you're good, you know, because a lot of, and this is something I'll tell you guys, is a lot of the brands, they need those documents. They need to see that you're a registered business. They need to see you paying tax. They need to see that you've got a bank confirmation letter. They need to see all these things before they give you any money, because they're not trying to deal with dodgy people, right? And it's not to say you're dodgy. It's just to say that you might not necessarily have all those things. So getting that is definitely going to help you with the big corporates that you want, because they all want that without fail.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Get your paperwork right.
Yeah, basically.
For sure, for sure. Is that the last question? All right. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. I think that would be the wrap of our masterclass today. Mars, I just really want to say thank you on the behalf of the ABSA team, on the behalf of the M team, and the behalf of everybody here today. I think this was super insightful. I really love the way we were able to balance out the technical things with also the business elements of things, and the amazing work that you're doing, man. So we just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here. Much appreciated. And guys, don't disappoint me. Can we please give a round of applause for Mars? Thanks, bro. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.